Was anime. Um, so, Suspiria. Suspiria. I've always known that I really loved that movie. And to be clear, I said this before, but to be clear, I'm talking about the 2018 remake of the original Dario Argento horror movie, Suspiria. So yeah, I always knew that I loved this movie, but I've been having this thing happen recently where things that I've loved in the past, whether I knew why I loved it or I thought I knew would be a better way to put it, I've been having this thing happen lately where the reasons that it resonated with me so much have been coming to light. And I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to put it into words, as far as like how it works, but I'll give you a couple of examples. There's a band that I use in my reels a lot on Instagram called Scarlet. Really, really heavy, chaotic, technical, progressive metal. And I view the voice, I view vocals as an instrument. And so many times I'll listen to a band and I'll catch some of the things that they say. And obviously you can see like the titles of the songs and things like that. But a lot of the time I go into music blind, meaning I listen to it and I don't look up the lyrics. If someone shows it to me, I don't make an effort to necessarily go look up the lyrics unless I'm given a reason. I mostly go off of the sound and what it makes me feel, what it evokes from me. And Scarlet is, they're not even a band anymore. This band existed in the early 2000s. Their music is still really good to me. I still listen to them to this day. But I always thought that it was because of mostly the audioscape. The words, every once in a while during a breakdown or something like that, I could tell what they're saying, and that would resonate with me for sure. But for the most part, it just kind of all came together to be sonically, pleasing and resonated heavily with me. So recently, I have been, kind of code talking. I've been code talking through reels. I've been matching up songs with images that don't seemingly go together, but if you dig a little bit, you'll see that there's a theme or there's something that I'm trying to convey. When I looked up the lyrics for some of these Scarlet songs that I thought, just kind of went with what I was trying to convey, dude, they're talking about shit that is really important to me now. And on varying levels, because a lot of it is kind of foreshadowing politically driven things. And as you may know if you watch my shit, I don't give a fuck about politics anymore. But in the sense of I can see that it's all a stage, it's all theater, and it is still frustrating to me that many can't see that. And so sometimes I may put something up that references that or, tries to kind of open up an eye or two. I'm not trying to wake everybody up or any of that shit. But I do, hope that it reaches, one of you or one of us. And Scarlett's words, it's amazing. It's amazing that resonated with me at a time where I wasn't even close to the level of adept that I am now. I would say, if nothing else, I would say it's synchronicity. Santos would definitely call that synchronicity. And I would agree. It's really weird to see how, something like that can, I just loved the music and I loved the vocalization of, the just the way that those things matched. It didn't matter what was being said in my mind at the time, in my, foremind. But now, like I said, going back and seeing some of these words, it's like, what the fuck? They were talking about things that were important to my soul, and I guess I'm subconsciously picking it up. I don't fucking know. But it was amazing. And so, very much in line with that, another example of that is this movie, Suspiria. I'm a big horror movie fan. I've said that many times. Most of the movies that you see me talk about that interest me or that have led me to, gnosis or, higher learning, any of that stuff, they're usually horror movies, or they're at least offbeat. They're not, it's not going to be a comedy or a romance or anything like that. I don't really even watch those anymore. But Suspiria, it's of the same lane as the Nag Hammadi, all of these texts that have leveled interpretation, meaning the more adept you are, the more studied you are, you're going to interpret these texts completely differently. On the surface level, if someone reads the Bible, they become subservient. They become very, very enamored with the thought of having a savior, of having a set of rules that governs them, and that will ensure their place in some sort of heaven realm, right? Now, the more that you study, the more that you look into esoteric and occult information, you start to realize that these are allegories. These are things that are trying to alchemically transmute your being, your soul, your knowledge, your mind as well. And, even with that, when you reach that first step of starting to realize, oh, this is not all literal, but it's also literal. There's lots of arguments about that right now. Did Jesus exist? Did Jesus not exist? And to many of those arguments, my answer is yes. It is not, he did or he didn't. It is both, or it is all. And it's not only genius, but it kind of displays one of the many, many reasons that I view this as a simulated experience. Because for something as grandiose as that, to be synchronistically and almost interdimensionally true at the same time, for each of these things to be true at the same time, that's not by chance, and it by standards of physics shouldn't even be possible. It shows when people say that we're living a script and things like that. I get what they're trying to say, but they're also off. That's the best way that I can convey that into words. But it's very similar to the concept of, is there free will or is there no free will? It's something that can't be quantified. You can't qualify that because, from your perspective, you're going to say yes, but from a grand scheme of things, you don't. And, anyway, so this movie, on the surface, it looks like it's about witches. And I, have a love of movies and texts and stories and all kinds of stuff that have to do with witches because, if I had to answer first, it'd be because I have an interest in real magic, not psychology, real magic. But the more that you watch this movie and the more, like I said, as you study, you start to see themes in it. One of the biggest themes that I noticed were Gnostic in nature. And the concept that, has been lost on many because of manipulation, not due to their own actions or anything like that. The Bible's been heavily edited and it was taken from other texts and manipulated and so on, is that we are divine beings. When I say we, I kind of just mean us. I don't mean those that shy away from these discussions and these themes and topics. those of us that are leaning into this information and resonating with this information, there's a reason for that. You know, you could call people non-player characters. I'm starting to prefer non-personal consciousness, because it's not to say that they don't have a life. It's not to say that they don't, you know, deserve experience, but there is a difference. There is a difference, and you can almost see that in what some call their programming, the way that they go about this place, the way that they can't stand to hear certain topics, the way that they'll snap in and out of different types of consciousness depending on what you do. Not what they do, what you do. When you start talking about certain things, some of us have described very, very creepy movie-like situations where they'll go from being your friend or your family or your coworker or whatever, and they'll very quickly and abruptly come off as Agent Smith, you know, that concept where they need to control what you're believing, what you're conveying, what you're studying, whatever it may be. When you disclose these things that you're interested in, or these things that you're trying to explain to them, they need you to stop. They want you to stop, and not only that, they want you to stop believing it and go back to the old you, go back to the things that you were talking about before that didn't matter. That would be the difference that I mean. There is a difference, and this is kind of the story of one of us rediscovering themselves. You know, some view it as the character always knowing, actively knowing who they were, but the way that I view it from beginning to end, once you consider the end, is that it was something that they had a gnosis of, a knowing of, but they couldn't explain it. They couldn't really put their finger on it. And so throughout the movie, you think that this girl is falling into a trap. You think that she's falling into a trap. What's realistically happening, though, is she's getting a lay of the land. And it's almost as if she has two separate consciousnesses inhabiting her at once, kind of like the concept of the higher self that many choose to believe. I don't know that I would call it that, but I do agree that we are that. We are going through that. But I would say it's more so the fact that we are currently memory wiped. We have a feeling of what we are and who we are, and we have things that are pointing to you know, certain descriptions, but we don't know those things to be true because of manipulations to text and things like that. So we're just going off of intuition. I'll at least speak for myself. You know, the idea of self-deification comes from that. It comes from the fact that I have always felt something within myself that I would have described as different before I started these studies, before I started this research. Now that has grown to be what it is today. And I won't, you know, I'm not going to describe it. I talk about it a lot on this channel. But realistically, it seems very much to me like she is aware of a difference within her, but doesn't fully know what that is. And at some point, she makes a choice to follow that intuition. And so she ends up at this dance academy. And, you know, there's an aesthetic to this place where there's very obviously a hierarchy. There's like a very cult-like loving of those that are in charge, meaning the management and ultimately the headmistress, the woman that's running the dance academy. And very soon you get an idea that there's something metaphysical going on in this story, because she's trying to show her a dance sequence that's going to be in their offering that they're going to be doing publicly soon. When she's not getting it, the headmistress puts her hands, and I think she even rubs her hands and blows on them, which that's chi, that's ki. And I've said before, all of this stuff is connected. You can go to different countries and they'll call it different shit. It's all the same thing. She's gathering ki. And she places her hands on her feet. And you can see a glowing reaction happen. And then suddenly she can jump much higher than she was before. And this is a direct, like, hey, there's something else going on here. And so the story continues, and you start to get an idea that there's something nefarious going on at this school, this dance academy. And one of the other characters is going to a psychiatrist or psychologist, counselor, something like that. And she's detailing the many things that are feeling off about this place. And she's saying she can't get away. She can't get away. They won't let her get away. And throughout the movie, you're also seeing these sigils and symbols and things that are giving you the context that this is something that has to do with magic or alchemy, all of those things, metaphysics, in totality. And so you kind of see a struggle. There's a power struggle at this school between the head mistresses, the ones that are running the school. Then you come to know that this is a coven. This is a coven of witches. They're very, very matriarchal. Obviously, there are no dudes. But there's also, I don't want to say it's democratic, because it's not democratic. But it is very old ways in how it's run. They do vote, but there is a ruler. There is a matriarch, as I said. So, like, you think at first that the headmistress that you see, Tilda Swinton, is the actual matriarch of this coven. But you keep hearing this name, Marcos. And as the plot goes along, and I'm paraphrasing heavily, just watch this movie, it's amazing. But as the movie goes along, you start to realize Marcos is not seen. You haven't seen Marcos. In fact, Tilda Swinton's name is Blanc. And, you get the idea that Tilda Swinton is... You think that they're all evil, You get the idea, because obviously you go into it thinking witches or whatever. But I think within the last few years, a lot of us have come to understand that just because someone is a witch or practices witchcraft or is a magic user or something like that, that does not indicate that they're an evil person or a disagreeable person or whatever. Things are never that cut and dry. It's never that black and white. In fact, if anything, you should be trying to transmute to gray, which is why I use gray hearts a lot. It's why I choose the symbolism that I choose a lot, because of the concept of transmuting the light and the dark into gray. There's a mixture of the two. So as the plot continues, again, you think that this girl is being misled. She's being led to her, presumable doom. Some kind of ritual, you would assume, because it's witches. It's a coven of witches. And you do see some violence before the kind of climax of the movie. There are things that help that presumption along, where you see things happen to certain beings, and there are some disagreeable things that happen, but it's because of what you see at the end. I think I'll describe the ending before I kind of go into the themes that I've noticed that did something for me. And again, it's just like I was saying with that band. It did things for me inside without my foreknowledge. Definitely could have been some subconscious knowledge there. Who knows? That's why it's the subconscious. But it did things for me that I'm starting to understand now. And again, I've been rewatching movies and talking about them on my channel. But like, I saw a scene. Or no, I didn't even do that. I was thinking of stuff to talk about, and all of this just started coming to me. I don't get downloads and all that stuff. Usually it's due to things that, I've studied before, or a prompt from video or something like that. This is the first time that I can say this could be what people are describing when they say a download. Because I didn't rewatch this movie. None of the things, none of the alchemy stuff or the other themes came from anywhere specific. It just started happening. But I've watched this movie enough to where I guess, I don't know, maybe my studies kind of like switched it around in my head and it just suddenly started to make sense. I don't know. But anyway, the ending of this movie I view as beautiful, but it's very disturbing and it's very violent. But it's very, very heavily symbolic. There is really heavy, symbolism going on in its entirety. So what you've come by the end of this movie, what you come to realize is that the main character was kind of chosen and pulled to this place because they're trying to do a ritual so that the Marcos character can take over a new body. And Marcos is sitting in this hidden room where they're doing this ritual. And sidebar really quick, one of the things that I really loved about this movie before any of my studies or anything, not any, but my most recent studies, is that a theme of this music is dance and music. And when you know anything about, historical witchcraft, actual magic, you know that it's not just about words. There are lots of rituals that are heavy in dance. There are lots of things that you can do with movement, with direction, what direction you're facing. It's very much using the technology of the avatar and of the throat chakra. Everything that we are has capability, has ability, has purpose. And we've been wiped of that. We don't have memory of that. There are some that have faint memory, and that's why they do rituals and things like that, but it's often why they have to use their imagination in the culmination of those rituals. By that I mean they're not doing the actual magic. The manifestation of what they're trying to see happen is not any faster, and many times doesn't actually come to fruition. And that's for a whole bunch of reasons. They're using the wrong language. They're not using dance. They're not using rhythm. They're not using breath. They're not using the throat chakra the way that they should. There's all of these themes that we've been lied to about. Even the things that are in some of these tomes, these books, these grimoires, even fake grimoires that have been made recently, just like the Bible. These things have been made to keep us in a stationary position where we're not actually utilizing the things that we have within us. We can feel that we are something that is not this, but everything that is being given to us is misleading us and sending us in different directions that are not actually beneficial to us in the way that we're looking for. Anyway, so they're doing ritual, this giant ritual in this room. When she walks in, they're already doing this. I can't even call it a routine. Literally, they're doing a ritual. They're all naked in the original form. There's no clothing because that essentially, even if you have crushed linen, which is shown to be more electric and a conductor of electricity versus this cotton shit that we all have to wear, and the rubber soles on our shoes and all of these things that keep us from being able to utilize the energies and the ki and stuff that's around us, chi. They're naked, so they're perfect conductors. They're perfect for coming together to conduct energy together. And their movements are very primal, and they're using breath work. If you listen closely when she's in this room, you can hear the breath work. It's rhythmic and it's very heavy and intense. There's another depiction of this at the end of The Witch, which is an A24 film. A lot slower, but I love that movie too. I think even Beyonce, her dancers or her music or something, I remember seeing very specific, like hair whipping. That's something that's based in magic, in witchcraft. Breath work, I remember hearing breath work. I don't listen to Beyonce, but I just noticed these things. Anyway, so Marcos is in this room. All of the dancers are there, and they're in a trance. They're in a hypnagogic state. So even if they wanted to, they can't stop. They can't stop the ritual because they're no longer themselves. They're conduits. They're conduits for the ritual. And all of this, you think, is to bring about the transmutation, or more like the moving of Marcos's consciousness into the main character, Susie. Susie's her name. I was trying to remember. And they, you know, they have her in this beautiful flowing red kind of see-through type, I can't remember what those are called. It's like lingerie. It looks like lingerie. Marco starts to talk to her and is almost mocking her and saying, like, you know, pretty much trying to be foreboding in what's about to happen to Susie. And if you pay attention, you'll notice that Susie does not at all look worried. Not once. In fact, she looks very serene and very majestic. And you may not notice that, you know, in the first go around, you know, obviously if you're not listening to me talk about this, but hopefully you've seen it before and you'll think back and say, yeah, actually she didn't look, you know, upset or scared or angry or any of that stuff. And the way that she's answering, the way that she's talking, it starts to signify that she knows something that they don't know. She knows something that they don't know. And, you know, what ends up happening is the Madame Blanc, she says things very abruptly. She looks fearful. She keeps looking at Susie and she says, you don't have to go through with this. And Marcos whips her, you know, attention at her, like, what the fuck are you doing? And she says, you need to be sure about this. I want this to be right. I want this to be right. And so she's having a flood of empathy. She's having a flood of, hey, this isn't what it should be. This is wrong. And she says, I can take you away from here. I can wipe your memories of this. So she's offering her an out. And Susie says that she came here for this. And that's when it should snap for you. Oh, shit. She came here for this. And she starts to speak and you get the understanding. And I'm trying not to give away all of it. I know I've given away a lot, but it's a 2 hour and something long movie. And all of it is not boring. It doesn't move slowly. But she is one of the originals. It comes out that Marcos is a false light. Marcos is not what she claims to be. She's not one of the Trinity. She's not one of the founding mothers. She's not one of the founding matriarchs. She's posing as this, which is why her body is degrading degrading as it is. It's because she is a false light. She's not actually of what she claims to be. And so the whole time, especially during this scene, you think you're about to watch Susie get worked out and you know, obviously feel bad for her and whatnot. What actually ends up happening is she is matriarch Suspiria, which is one of the 3 founding mothers of this coven. And, you know, I kind of feel like it's not just the coven, like this is some sort of like clandestine coven that kind of covers maybe just a couple in the whole world, but that's me, you know, making conjecture. I don't know. But what ends up happening is Susie starts her own, she takes the energy from this room, I'm assuming, the chi that's been built up. And this scene is crazy. I think I put up a piece of the scene in the community section. Go watch that shit. If that doesn't make you want to watch the movie, then don't fucking watch it. I don't know what to tell you, but it's amazing. What ends up happening is she uses the chi, the energy from that room, and she not only manifests vengeance incarnate, she brings about a physical egregore of vengeance, and it walks around this room and starts... it can look at one of these followers of Marcos, and make them undone. I'll say it like that. Make them undone. Or it can touch them and make them undone. And you see the horror in their face, but you also see that they know that they were aware of the mistake that they made. And I thank you for being patient with me, because all of this is to be able to talk in a minute about what this all makes me feel. So she manifests an egregore that is vengeance, that is justice, that is, atonement. And it begins to go slink around this room and take out these imposters, these betrayers that should have long ago said to these beings, this is wrong, this is a false light, and you're suppressing your own mother by allowing this to be. Essentially, I'm paraphrasing. Those are my words. And as this is happening, the camera pans back to Susie, and you see her open her chest. She opens her own chest, and it's not, some light effects or anything like that you may see with some versions of horror movies. It's very, very realistic. So she opens her own chest to show her insides, her heart. And she's not in pain, though. It's almost as if she's allowing her true self to be released. She's allowing matriarch Mother Suspirium to be released. And this is when she fully comes into herself, and she also walks around the room and releases them, releases the betrayers, releases those infiltrators that have turned this coven that was supposed to be a positive thing. As much as that might sound weird, it was supposed to be a positive thing, and they over time, the degradation of this coven, you kind of get an idea now, like, oh, it wasn't supposed to be this disagreeable. They weren't supposed to be this way, just killing people randomly, using spells on cops and shit randomly for no reason or just for fun. These are not the intentions of the actual mothers, the actual matriarchs. And so, watch the movie. It is definitely really, really worth it. So anyway, what I got from this was very, very Gnostic and transformative in a whole bunch of different ways. I kind of explained a few of them just in talking about the scene and about the movie, but I view Susie as me, or I view Susie as those of you that have resonated with the themes that I talk about, the things that I say, the philosophies that I've come to realize throughout my research and throughout my studies. And it's not to say that I know any better than anyone else. It's not to say that I think my beliefs are the truth and others are not the truth. I'm just doing my part to offer my perspective and my philosophy on this simulated experience that we are having. Because regardless to whether we view it as a school or we view it as just an experience that's been hijacked by archons or whatever you view it as, the result is that you should be transmuting the experiences that you're having into positivity, into progression, into your own light, into remembering who you are, despite the possibility that there are others in your close vicinity or in the exterior, in the metaphysical, that do not want you to transmute that into those things. That's what you should be doing with this. It doesn't matter what the fuck this is. It doesn't matter how the fuck to get out. Because realistically, unless you can come up with a reason or a way for you to get out of this place in an agreeable fashion to what you would say is not painful, or not painful for those that care about you, you're not going to figure that out. Definitely not without others. I keep trying to say, like, even if all of us just magically jumped onto the same page, the same wavelength, and we even had the resources, both monetary and otherwise, to get to the same area, I do believe very much that that would strengthen our chi. I feel like that would strengthen our energy, our powers. But do I think that would get us out of this simulation? I don't. Because can you point to another example of a being or group that was able to do this in a definitive and objective way? No. All you can point to are cults that's, from this perspective, unplug themselves. And that doesn't necessarily mean reaching or attaining apotheosis, or getting to a point of your true divinity, returning to your true divinity. We can feel it here, but just simply unplugging yourself, or letting this, kind of simulation give you so much data and so many historical facts that you think you have cracked the code, and then you unplug under certain circumstances. Oh, there's a meteor shower. That's the time to unplug. Oh, there's a solar eclipse. That's the time to unplug. These are all illusion, bruh. I've said before, I see this thing that happens, and I've done it myself, and I still do it. I have to remind myself every step I take. We realize something, we reach some level of gnosis, and we say, oh shit, this is a simulated reality, blah, blah, blah. But then the next step you take, you forget that, and you apply something from this place to your plans. You instantly forgot that this is a simulation. It's one or the other. Either you see it as a simulation and you can understand that this is very complex, but you can't apply any of it to your consciousness, to your being, outside of experience. You can't use physical shit from this place and apply it to your apotheosis. Does that make sense? Like, it's a simulation in one hand, but then you take a step and you've forgotten. Right? You've forgotten. 10 seconds ago, you just talked about how this shit's fake, and there's all these examples in my life. There's glitches and all kinds of shit. And those are real observations. I'm not discounting them. I'm saying when you take the next step, then you start trying to apply the physics and the science and the astrologies and all this shit. Those are all material. They're from here. You're not from here. So it doesn't fucking matter. Don't apply that shit to you, to this, to you. You can use it here because you're here. But don't unplug yourself or make all these plans that could put you into some form of danger. And by danger, I mean you could very suddenly end up unplugged with no understanding of where you're going or what you're doing next. It's something that I try to remind myself of a lot. So anyway, sorry, that's not a digression, but I definitely felt like I needed to drive that home. What I'm saying is, Susie's character in this movie, I feel like is those of us that resonate with both the things that I talk about and the things that I'm saying. Those that, and there's few of us. There are very few of us. There are some that are even kind of pretending to be us. And I'm not about to start pointing fingers, talking about NPCs and all that shit. That also doesn't matter. If they're not you, then ultimately it doesn't make a fuck. So you don't need to focus on pointing at someone and calling them an NPC. If they're in your, direct vicinity, then you're having to interact with them, and it is kind of important to know that they're on your side or not. Doesn't mean you need to do something with that information other than being more on your toes. You know what I'm saying? Like, be more on guard when you're around those beings, because a lot of the time they're doing shit to directly keep you where you are or to push you the fuck back. The reason I say that we are like Susie in that sense is because Susie always had Mother Superium within her, and she felt it, but she didn't know what that meant. She didn't know what it was. And at some point she got so tired with her existence continuing to beat her down. She was a Mennonite. She grew up in a Mennonite, cult, I'll say. She grew up in a Mennonite cult. She got sick of that shit, dipped out from America, moved to Germany to follow her intuition, to follow her gnosis. And the more steps that she took in the direction that she felt, not that she knew, but that she felt, the more that she came back to herself. which I feel. That's how I feel. I still don't know what my original name is, if that even is a thing. I still don't know, past live experiences and all that shit that all these people make money off of, all these influencers make money off of. I don't need to know that. I don't care. I don't need to know that. It would be cool to experience, especially if I could confirm only for myself that these are real and not something from this place. But I don't need that. I've come to realize that I don't need that. All I need is this. All I need is this, and the experience is bringing me back to this. And so, like I said, every step that she's taking in the direction that she's very unaware of where she's going, what it means, what she's supposed to do next. She's just following the natural. She's following the intuition. And every step she takes, she is more and more Mother Superior and less Susie. We are that. You are that. I am that. Divinity. You are a divine being. You hold a spark from the first. You hold the breath of life from the first. It doesn't matter if this place was jacked by archons and demiurges and shit, or if this is an experience that you chose to come into in order to learn, like a college or a school, like some people say. It doesn't matter if it's, some kind of amalgamation of the two. Those things don't matter. What matters is you're here now, and you can transmute this into something beautiful. You are something beautiful. You started off as that. You're going to return to that. All of these beings that are trying to get you to think that you need to find some sort of code or some sort of like magic password that is necessary, not just good to have, but it's necessary for you to return to you. That's busy work, bruh. That's busy work. And a lot of the time it's not even busy work. They're just saying bullshit so that you'll give them your energy and your money, which is also energy. That's all that is. It doesn't fucking matter. You need to follow you, and that doesn't mean that you don't listen to teachers or that you don't soak up information and gnosis from others. It just means that you follow you. You follow your interpretation. You follow your intuition. You follow you. Don't fall into one influencer and let them build your entire perspective of this experience. Don't let them change you from who you kind of liked being to who you don't like being at all, just because you think they're correct. And usually I get so hyped up about this, I would start calling off some of these fucking influencers that are doing that shit. If you watch some of my videos, you already know who I'm talking about. And there are many others. They are misleading us. False idols. I'm not a Christian. I'm not, I'm not an Abrahamic person. But that false idol shit, that's real. That's real. But you know what the difference is? Those that are telling you not to have false idols are also false idols. You know who's not a false idol? You. You. Follow you. That's why, I say never bow a lot, never bow again a lot. It's because, I look back, and everyone has to go through a walk, but I look back and I see things that I'm not proud of. The bowing and praying and begging. But that was a part of this process. But in the same breath, that won't be happening again. That won't be happening again. And I do hope very much that I can continue to transmute to where I don't have these feelings, of needing to sort that shit out with those beings, with that being or those beings or whatever lies outside of this place. I do believe that there is some form of manipulating entity or entities that are very, very much in charge of this place or operate this place, whether they jacked it or whether they were the ones to create it. Doesn't matter. But I hope very much that, you know, when I do traverse this place, when I finish with this experience, whatever you want to call it, I hope by that point I've reached a level that I can just turn away, you know? But at this point, I haven't. I'm gonna fuck them niggas up when I get out of here, bruh. You know what I mean? I'm fucking them up when I get out of here, as of right now. But I hope that I can continue to grow and to understand that this shit doesn't fucking matter. I'm just in it right now, so it feels personal. It feels very personal. It feels very torturous. But I'm gonna continue to transmute, and I'm gonna do my best to remember who I am through experience. And if I can't get it back the regular way, which is remembering directly, I'm getting it back through this experience. I'm transmuting these experiences to get back to self, to understand what I truly am and not this bullshit. Because this is to fool you into some shit. It's to make you believe that this is real, this is all that there is, and that's the ultimate. Your only choice. And if you fall for that shit, I don't know what will happen, but I do know it's probably not fucking good. You know? In another sense, the movie itself is a pilgrimage. It's a trek. It's showing the hero's journey. And I do think that many of us will return to our true divinity. And it starts with self-deification, remembering that you are a divine. You have been designated by the first. No one can take that from you, no matter how hard they try. No matter how hard this shit seems, no matter how fucked up this is, it's not real, bruh. It doesn't fucking matter. You know? Anyway, I love y'all. Watch that movie. I'll be back. Bye.